studio, and thank you for joining me for this Friday night kind of live. I'm just adjusting that so it's straight. So, welcome everyone. So, as you are watching this right now, I am actually in Moscow, Tennessee. I am attending a Calvary Chapel Women's retreat this weekend. So, a little something to kind of get away from, all the crazy of the world and work and as much fun as I have, creating and crafting and playing with the Stampin' Up stuff and everything, even to step away from this for a little bit, is something that is much needed. So I will be just spending time with the Lord and just relaxing. I've been there before, so the grounds and the chapel and everything is just absolutely beautiful and serene and peaceful. And I will be there with many of my other sisters as well. So, if you remember from when I was talking from my last, Friday night actual live, I talked about bookmarks that I had made. So, I thought I would kind of show you what they look like. So, I can show this now because nobody is going to see this until tomorrow. So, the ladies that are getting these, they're not even gonna chances are they are not watching this video, at the time that you're watching this right now because at 7 p.m. we actually have a session going on. So I know at least of one person that maybe later on that, tonight she'll probably be watching. She knows who she is, and she's actually going to be at this retreat with me as well. So, this is the final version of what the bookmarks look like. So, I took some Blackberry Bliss cardstock and I had printed out this piece here out of Very Vanilla and with the Stampin' Up! Hex codes of their colors, I took the Bible verse of John 15:4, "Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me." So this is the theme for our retreat. And I basically printed this out and then stamped the grapes, colored them all in, and then added this on the Very Vanilla so you were able to see it, and laminated it a couple of times, and then just added the ribbon along with the cute little grape charm. So I wanted to show you because you heard me speak about making bookmarks. So I wanted to show you um, what the final outcome was with these. The ribbon, I got that from Hobby Lobby. This is our linen thread, and then these little grape charms, they came from Amazon. So I wanted to show you that. So I made a total of 80 of them. So I have extra ones, but there's actually only about 50 ladies that are going to be at the event. So it's okay if there's extra. I always like to have extra so then that way, I can give them out to friends and stuff. So nothing wrong with me. I always make, like I said, I always make extra. And like I said, I made 80 of these and yeah, it was a lot of work. I kind of fit that in along with, planning all the videos, the Throwback Thursdays and the Friday Lives and everything in between and along with work as well. So it's been crazy. It's been busy. So like I said, I'm really looking forward to just having this downtime this weekend. So a couple of things that I do want to make mention of before we get started. So this is now May 3rd. And at this point, this is our new annual catalog, and this went live on Wednesday, May 1st. So now technically I can actually do this now. As demonstrators, one of the things that we're not allowed to do is to show you the inside of the catalog. We can show you the cover, but we cannot show you what's inside of the catalog until it goes live. So now the catalog is officially gone live, so I can actually open it up. You can kind of see some stuff in here, and I won't get in trouble with the Stampin' Up! Police for doing so. It's a pretty big deal. It's one of the big things that they tell us, when we went to the event, the onstage event back in March, we got these catalogs, and that's one of the things, until the catalog goes live, they ask that we don't share what's inside of the catalog, show any images or anything that's off of the website. But if we purchase the product, if there's a select amount of product in this catalog that we were able to pre-order as demonstrators. And so with that, if we got the product, we can show the product, we can create with it, we can show you what we created with it. It's just the inside the catalog, we just can't show that. Um, I will tell you that this is probably most like well, not probably, but this is most likely gonna be a definite this sweet collection, it's gonna be a definite, Friday night live, video, and the paper, I mean, the paper is just really, like, bright and colorful and all that, but while I was at the event, this, foil paper here, this is just it's beautiful. It's variegated and it's got foil in it and it's just beautiful. And there was a framed project that our presenter had done with this, and I am actually looking forward to creating that. And it was something like with seasons of life, and the mini alphabet set of dies that carried over. She had used that, and I don't know, maybe my live will just be creating that frame piece because it was a nice size 12 by 12. So yeah, there's the catalogs, a little bit different. If you're used to seeing our catalogs, this catalog is laid out a lot differently than what the last one is. It is thinner, so it's not as thick. And with that, the reason why it's thinner too, yeah, there's less product in it, but to keep in mind, every, do I want to say, is it every 3 months or maybe 2 months? I can't remember offhand. They come out with online exclusive items. So there's always like new product that's coming out. So that's one of the reasons why the catalog's a little bit thinner. We do have an index here, where you can find stuff. So like all our suite collections are all together in one spot, and then the bundles as well. And then there's Encore products, which I really don't know what Encore. Oh, Encore. Okay, I get what Encore is. Encore is the bundles that carried over from either our past annual catalog or our mini catalog as well. So that, or actually the autumn leaves that technically carried over from our was it September through December catalog. So the Encore is basically those bundles that carried over, but the only thing that's different is that they are not bundled priced. They are, the individual. So like Grassy Grove, the stamp set would be 24, and the Grove dies that coordinates with it would be 39. So there's not a 10% bundled pricing on these. They usually just got that price when they first come out. Now you could see that some places I have it marked where I highlighted in purple. That just means that I have that's the product that I have. And I didn't get everything, but But yeah, so you got all of your $1,000,000 Achiever stamp sets together, and what is it, like some different stamping technique type sets and everything. And so they just kind of really like changed it up. And one of the things that is different that we were so used to would be that, you would all the uh, designer series papers, they would all be together in one section. All of the, all the embellishments, of course, they're in one section. But even like dies, for example, sets of dies that are either standalone dies or you know, they would coordinate with a stamp set, but they're no longer available as a bundle. They used to be in a section by themselves along with punches. Well, we don't have that now. They're kind of scattered throughout, the catalog. So the thing is, from people that, from other demonstrators and customers and stuff that have looked at the catalog, a lot have voiced, their thoughts about it, that you can't find things as easily as, you did before. And, I totally get it. Yeah, I mean, I love the stuff that's in it. I really do. And it's going to take me a long time before I get used to this catalog. And I will tell you, the index in this catalog is going to be like your best friend because this is where you're going to find everything. So if you're being in particular and you're just looking for punches, there's this little section here that's going to tell you the name of the punch and what page it's on. And as you can see, this list of punches is, I mean, that's a whole lot less punches than what we had in our last previous catalogs. And then you got like all your tools, and then this is all the stamp sets right here. Um, as far as like, all the designer series paper, that's all like right here. And then all the sets of the dies are listed. So they kind of just, I mean, like I said, the index is going to be your best friend when it comes to, looking for things in the catalog because things really are just like scattered, in different areas. So you really gotta like just really, look at each of these pages. I mean, that's how I kind of feel and how I'm looking at it. It is laid out a lot differently. And if you know me, what I've done over the past few years, I have done Excel spreadsheets of the catalogs when they come out. And so literally I would do an Excel spreadsheet. It would have the page number, it would have the item number, it would mention if whether, was it a stamp set, was it a tool like, a set of dies or a punch, if it's ink, if it's paper, embellishments and whatnot. And, I would list, the description of the product and I would put the price on there. And I always did this because I felt that it was a good tool. Like, say, if you were just interested in maybe, just the papers, you can sort it by just showing the papers. If you're placing an order and say maybe you have Stampin' Rewards where oh, your Stampin' Rewards, I have like $5 more that I need to add to it. Well, you can also sort by price, and that could help you in choosing something to add that's close to that $5 mark. So I haven't started. Usually, the spreadsheets, I probably would have had it done by now. I haven't even started on this one because with this one, I know it's going to take me a lot longer to do because I'm going to have to really pay attention, to every page, because you're going to have stuff, scattered, in different areas. Like you could have something like down here, you can have something with numbers right down here. And so it's laid out a lot differently. And it's going to take me a while to kind of get used to, the whole layout of the catalog. So, I mean, there's really cool items in here, like I said, and I don't have a whole lot that's out of this catalog yet. I mean, other than those items that have carried over. But I mean, this catalog is good for a whole year now. It'll go through April 30th of next year. Um, One of the things I will show you that we're going to actually be using some tonight. Let's see, this is the thing. I got to figure out where to find things in here. Trying to find the section that has like all the card stocks and things like that. So here's all the embellishments. We had more embellishments in the other catalog. All of the adhesives, um, some different things you can use for doing watercolor. Um, this catalog, they have things they have it laid out, basically on, I guess, like your crafting level, like if you're a beginner or if you're more advanced and all that, it gives you like all these different techniques in here. So this is not just a catalog, it's also an idea book. So it kind of shows you things that they're doing with the embossing paste. There's all of our embossing folders. That's less than what we've had in the past. Things, with some Stampin' Blends and the Stampin' Right markers. And in here too, there is a color wheel. So I don't know if I showed this to you from what I think I did show this when I was in Houston for the event, that one of the things that we had a product playground. And one of the things that we got for being there was this color wheel, just it's a big help when you're creating and you want to, know what colors can I put together and all that. So we all got one of these. Now they have it in the catalog here, and Stampin' Up! Not that long ago had said, because so many demonstrators had showed this color wheel, in their videos and all that, that there were a lot of people asking the question, will this be something that Stampin' Up! Would make available for people to purchase? Well, Stampin' Up! Did mention that they are going to have a color wheel that they will have for sale. It'll be something that'll be in the online exclusives. They said the only difference with what we received at OnStage and what would be available for people to purchase is that the in colors will not be listed on here. So our new in colors and the ones that carried over for another year, they are on this color wheel. Like I said, the one that will be for sale will not have any in colors, and I can see the understanding in why they wouldn't do that, because if this is something that they're going to have for sale, the, a, a set of 5 of the in colors are going to retire every year, and there's going to be another set that come out. So at that point, they would have to like redo this color wheel every year when the new catalog came out and we got new colors. So that's going to be really the only difference between what we received as demos when we went to the on-stage event and what would be made available to customers and all that when they come out with it. But they also have this color wheel, very similar to that one that they had put in the catalog here. And then here's like all the different color collections. So you got your subtles, and there's no color refresh. So none of these colors in the collections were rearranged. None of these retired. So we're still good with all of those colors. Um, Like I said, a set of ink colors had retired, are really pretty, like Sweet Sorbet, Parakeet Party, Orchid Oasis, Tahitian Tide, Starry Sky. Those colors, really pretty, bright colors. They retired. So these colors here, the Copper Clay, Wild Wheat, Boho Blue, Moody Mauve, and Pebble Path, they carried over. And then the new colors are Pretty in Pink, Peach Pie, Shy Shamrock, Summer Splash, and Petunia Pop. And we'll actually be using some of these colors here in um, our projects tonight, actually. So this is the new catalog. Let me show you. I was on that page just a moment ago. I'm going to show you really quick what it is that we're using. So this is the Spotlight on Nature. This is the bundle that we'll be using, and actually we're not. So let me show you this. So when we went to on stage, we had there was an optional event that we could sign up for, and that was on stage after hours. And when we registered, there was an option for three different bundles that we could choose from. And we chose a bundle, and we had gotten a whole pack, a variety of the new in color cardstocks. We got some embellishments, and we got some of the essentials baker's twine um, pack. And it was a night. This was the first night we were there that we just sat there and we created the projects. They had provided, the ink pads and everything for us to use. So I thought what I would do is I would create the projects that are in here for tonight's live. So the funny thing is, when I was at the event, when I was at this thing, little confession, I got the first card done and I started doing, like, the next ones. Yeah, I kind of pre-cut, all my cardstock pieces and everything. And I figured, okay, let me cut all that and then I'll go and I'll do all the stamping. I will tell you, we were at a big table. There were a lot of people at our table, and there was, like, a lot of stuff, like, all over that table, and I don't know if you're like me or not, but I have a hard time, and I've kind of confessed this when I've done a live, that I just struggle in creating when I just have so much clutter around me. So usually when I do my pre-records, I will, when I finish a card, I'll stop it and I'll go and I'll clean everything up and set everything up for the next one. Well, it's a little bit different when I do the live. So yeah, so it was very hard for me, to kind of, really get that stuff completed that night. Remember, it's like I didn't sleep that much the night before, and we drove many hours, from Memphis to Houston, and we got there. So we were like on the go. So we were pretty tired. And plus, not only that, I was kind of looking around too, wondering where, there were some other demonstrators that I really wanted to meet, like, Dina Rico. Because I did see Barb. Let me back that up. Andrea. Hello, Andrea. I know you're watching, you're laying in your bed watching this. Um, we had gone to the event together, and we just happened to had before things started, we were at the swap board where everybody put their swap cards and everybody could see them and take pictures of them and all that. And yeah, so Andrea, she was looking at she was up there by the board and she was looking, and I was kind of standing a few feet behind her. And I'm just standing there, and I looked to my left and there was Barb Mulligan. And it's like, Barb. So, it was nice to see her. So I saw her first, then I saw Dina that night, and then the next day I saw Kelly. So I follow all three of them. They're just the best. And there is a picture. I'll tell you this, Dina Rico, she is like the queen when it comes to taking selfies. I'm just gonna say that because how she can hold the camera and get a good picture, she's amazing at it. So we did see them on that Saturday. Wait, Saturday or Friday? It was one of the 2 days, and we got a group picture. So she's taken it, and I will. Yeah, I think I will post it. I hadn't posted the picture yet, but of course I got to give kudos to her because she did take that picture. But that was pretty amazing. So with that being said, so this was the bundle that both of us had chosen, the Spotlight on Nature. So there is the red rubber cling stamp set with these really pretty images. And then that we got, there was there are a set of dies that kind of coordinate with this. There's no dies that cut out any of these images, but instead these dies, they're kind of, you got some, some like lacy little cuts, little like dash marks and lace, lacy looking. I don't know how to describe them, but you can see them here. So we got the dies, but we actually didn't do any die cutting that night. I don't even think Stampin' Up had any Stampin' Cut and Emboss machines, and they didn't tell us that we needed to bring them or anything. So, like I mentioned, the projects that I'm making for this kind of live is what's from this brochure that we got for that event that night. And I'm going to create or recreate actually those projects that we did at the after hours event. So, like I said, we didn't use the dies for that, but I'm sure that in future lives, I will be bringing these dies out and we will be using them. So let me just put those aside because I wanted to show you them. And I will just make mention now, I've mentioned this in let's see, it was my monthly Christmas card inspiration video that I posted on the 1st. And then I did, what was it? I did my Throwback Thursday after that, and I made mention about the new catalog. So if you are not a demonstrator or you're not working with another demonstrator and you would like a copy of one of these new catalogs, in the description of this video, there is my email. Just simply send me an email with your name and full mailing address, and I will get one of these out to you. So right now, this is the only catalog that we have. The holiday mini catalog, we actually have a few months before that comes out. So right now, it's just really focusing on this one new catalog and those items that are um, the online exclusive items. So with that, let me kind of put things aside. Well, now actually I'm going to open this up because I did not print out my, what do you call it? Yeah. So so what I do, I make mention of it. If you like the projects that I am making tonight, I do offer a free card kit of those projects with a minimum $35 order placed by midnight next Wednesday on May 8th. And I won't, now you would need the stamp set so you can stamp the images per Stampin' Up policy. I cannot pre-stamp these images for you. So you would need the stamp set. But then other than that, all of the pre-cut cardstock pieces, embellishments and whatnot, that I will provide to you. Okay, so let me bring in the components and stuff for my first card and put this aside. I'm glad I got this, what do you call it, this calyx unit behind me because I got shelves in which I can put stuff on, so that's kind of nice. Okay, so we're using some new in colors for these projects. So this is a piece of Summer Splash, and this thing's going to keep on moving and it's going to drive me crazy. So but hopefully that stays down. I'm sorry that I just shook the camera. So this is one of the new colors. This is Summer Splash. This color is that it looks just a little bit darker than Coastal Cabana, but this is Summer Splash. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and it's been scored at 4.25. And then I have here's another color. This is Shy Shamrock. If you remember one of our past in colors, Call Me Clover, this green is actually a little bit lighter than that. So this piece measures 4.5 by 3.5. Then I have two pieces of Lemon Lime Twist. Now this is a color that used to be an in color, but it returned when we did our last color refresh last year. Yeah, last year. So these both measure 3 by 2, so that you cut two of those. And then I have a piece of basic white. This measures 2 inches by 5/8. And then I have about 12 inches of this white baker's twine, and this comes from the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. This was in our annual catalog last year, and it has carried over into the new catalog. So in here you get some basic black, crumb cake, the basic white, very vanilla, and I think that's smoky slate or gray granite, one of the two. So I've used some of the white. Now, actually, according to the brochure, it's supposed to be very vanilla, but I had already gone and cut the white, so that's okay. We'll use the white. So I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. And I realized I did a whole lot of talking. But I did want to kind of introduce you to the new annual catalog, and because I know that there are some demonstrators that actually did a whole walkthrough through it. And I'm not going to do that. I just figured doing it just kind of a quick run through of it was good enough. I just had a piece of scrap paper that I don't know what I did with it. Oh, okay, there it is. I knew I put it down somewhere. Okay, so I am going to bring in my stamp set, and I'm going to bring in this leafy image, this one right here. And let's see, we got the leaf image, we have this flower image here. And then we have this stamp that says, Dear Friend. Okay, that's the only stamps that we need for this one. So let me bring in my blocks. Let's see, we got this bigger one here. I'm going to put the leaf on that one. And then bring in this bigger block. I gotta seriously clean these blocks. There's like adhesive or whatever stuck on them. Okay, and then the Dear Friend. Now I haven't put the stickers on the backs of these stamps. I typically don't do that. So to make sure that I stamp this straight, what I do is I place my stamp on there, and what I'm doing is I'm looking at this bottom edge of the wording, and I want to line it up straight with the base of this block. And then when I go to stamp it on my piece of cardstock, if I just really pay attention to if this is straight on the bottom, then my greeting should stamp straight on that piece of cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the piece of Shy Shamrock. Say that a few times fast. I'm sure that it'll sound quite interesting. So I'm going to bring in the Shy Shamrock ink. Now, when you first get these new ink pads, you're going to find that they're very, very inky. So what I had gone and done is I have, you can use like a plastic spoon or you can use a metal spoon or whatever. And what I did is I kind of lightly scraped some of the excess ink so that I had like a whole, well, no, I'm not going to say I had a whole spoonful, but there was a lot of ink. And I did push the ink in the pad. Now, if you find that it's still too inky, the other thing I've done too is just take like a folded up piece of paper towel and you can sop up some of the ink because that's the one thing when you get these they definitely give you a lot of ink in the ink pad. So I'm going to take this leaf image and I'm going to ink this up, and what they have us doing is we are stamping off and then stamp on here, so you just have a really light image of the leaves. So I'm going to ink it up again, and I'm going to stamp off, and we'll add one here. So we're just randomly stamping these leaves on this background. You could see that's a really nice detail of the leaves. So with the cards, with two of them, we're actually doing some watercoloring on those. And then I'll add partial one right over here. Okay, so that is that. And let me bring in my chamois, my very used chamois, and clean that off. And then I'm going to bring in, let's see, what's next? I'm going to bring in my lemon lime twist. And one of the things too that I do when I store them, so when you store your ink pads this way, the ink pad is in the lid. So when you close it, your ink pad, it's facing down. So what it does is it keeps the ink at the surface of your ink pad. But when I first get them and they're really inky, and after I've like pushed the ink in there, what I like to do is kind of store it upside down like this, and it'll be perfect when I go to use it again. Okay, so then I'm going to bring in these two pieces of lemon lime twist. And let me see, I'm reading the instructions, even though this was one of the cards that I actually put together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two pieces and I'm going to lay them out just like this. And then I'm going to bring in my lemon lime twist ink and I'm going to ink up my flowers. Actually, I'm going to do it this way since it's a bigger image. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp right over the two of them just like so. Okay. And we'll clean this up. This is a pretty cool technique I never really thought about. Um, Stamping, on two pieces like this. Okay, and then I'm going to take this Shy Shamrock and I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Seal. Now I can tell that I'm almost near the end of this, the seal that's in here. When you start to see the red in there, that means it's about time to replace it really soon. Okay, I'm going to bring in my card base and make sure that I have it in the right direction. And then I'm going to add this piece right in the middle. Like so. Is it straight? Okay, and then on this piece, I'm going to add some adhesive onto this one. And I'm going to add this. Let's see, where do I want to add this? I'm going to add this piece like right about here. Okay. And then on this piece, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. And I'm going to add some on here. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and look at the way it's stamped, and I'm actually going to line this up with the leaves. Let's bring that down just a little bit and put it down like that. So I think that's really cool. Just the two of them, they were stamped at the same, the whole image was stamped on the two pieces, but the two pieces were kind of just separated. So I really think that's a really cool effect on that. Okay, and then um, so we did that. Now the sentiment is this little piece of basic white. So I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet because I find that because the cardstock is white, that it'll be a little bit easier for me to see where I'm stamping. And then for this, I have that greeting that says, "Dear friend," and I'm going to bring in my Calypso Coral ink, and I'm going to ink this up. I want to make sure I got it the right way. And again, like I said, I'm going to look at the block and I'm going to get up on my tippy toes here so I can see. Okay, and that's not bad at all. So let me close this up and we'll set that aside. And we'll clean this really quick. Set that aside. And then for our greeting, we're going to add a couple of dimensionals on the back of this. And we may need to add, so when we place this on our card, it's going to be covering both these pieces. So since this one's popped up, what I need to do on this end here is add another dimensional. So then that way it will lay across those two pieces evenly. So I'll just place that right over that. And I'm going to set that aside. And then I'm going to bring in, let's see, I'm going to bring in some of my adhesive here. But what I want to do is I'm going to kind of wrap this twine around a couple of times. And this is going to, I'm going to kind of put a little bit of adhesive here just so it kind of holds it down. like so. And I like take those ends and kind of tuck them to where they kind of stay put. And then I'll just kind of separate these a little bit. And then I'll remove the paper backings off of my dimensionals. And I will add this right over that like so. So on here, it doesn't have like any embellishments on it, but that doesn't stop me from not adding any. So let me bring in the embellishments that we got that night as well. Now, this too is in the new annual catalog. These are the 2024 to 2026 in color shimmer gems. So these are really nice. They have a nice sparkle to them, and you got some larger ones and smaller ones in each of the in colors. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually I can bring in either the Shy Shamrock or the Summer Splash, which is our card base. So we can always try this and see which we like better. Which one do I want to do? I think I'll bring in the Summer Splash. So I'll take a couple of these. I'll take like a larger one and two smaller ones, and I'll add them to my card. So this wasn't, in the directions or whatever to add these, but again, it's your card, so you can do whatever you want. So there is the first card, and here is the card that I actually did make that night. So you can see the only difference is this is the very vanilla twine and this is the basic white. Okay, so let me put those aside and let's kind of pull everything out that we're going to need for our next one. Now, for our next one, we're going to be doing some watercoloring on this one. And let's see, I'm going to need the leaves, and I'll also need the flower. And so I think the next one is using the same greeting, dear friend. And in addition, there is, we got this one stamp here that's kind of like this crosshatch type of design. And we're going to put that on a block like so. Okay, so now for this one, let's bring in our pieces for this one. So this too, like I mentioned, it's has our new in color, and actually it's not so much it's new, it's actually returning. This was a color that was actually around when I first joined, and that was back in, no, let me back that up. Yeah, no, hold on. Yeah, when I joined, because that was back in like 2013. So we had a color. This is Pretty in Pink, so it's returned as an in color. So this piece is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. And I'm actually going to take my little card that I already made and put that aside. Then I have 3 pieces of watercolor paper. Now this is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. I believe they're in 5 by 7 size sheets, and I believe there's like 10 in a pack. That's in our annual catalog. So I have 3 pieces here. Each one of them is cut 3.5 by 1 3/4. I have a piece of Summer Splash cardstock. This measures 2 1/8 by 3/4. And then I have 2 pieces of basic white. So this one measures 3 by 1/2, and then this one's 2 3/4 by 1/4. And then it also has the crumb cake twine. So I cut a piece of that. It's about like 9 inches. So I'm going to set that aside. And so the first thing that we're going to do is well, let's go ahead and take our card base and we'll fold and burnish that. And I will set that aside. Okay, and then for this one, we're bringing in another new color. Now, this isn't an in color. This is actually a new color that's part of, do I want to say it's part of the basics? See, again, this index will be your best friend when it comes to finding things. So ink pads are like 135 to 139. So it's really close. It's the page before. So it's part of the basics. So in basic beige, you got the cardstock, you have the ink pad, and then you also got the refill. In this color, 12 by 12 cardstock's not available, and this a Stampin' Right marker and the Stampin' Blends combo are not available in basic beige. So this is a new color, and we're going to actually do some no line watercoloring. So what's nice about this color, because it's kind of pale when it's not fully really inky like it was when I first got it. It's nice because it'll give you, a nice subtle stamped image, and then from there you can watercolor over it. So I'm going to bring in these pieces here, and I'm going to bring in the leaf image and this ink, and I'll ink this up. And I think, okay, doesn't say to stamp off, so I'm going to stamp one of the leaves on this piece, okay, and then I'm going to stamp another one on this piece. Okay, we'll set that aside. And then on this piece, I'm going to stamp the flowers, and what I really want is this larger one to be up in the middle. So this whole entire image won't fit on this, so I'm going to kind of point it this way and stamp down. And I'll close this up. Okay, and then let me go ahead and clean these off. Clean this one off. Set those aside. Okay, so I'm going to do the watercoloring now, so then that way this has a chance to dry before we assemble them. So what I'm going to do, so there's a couple of options on how you can do this. So we're going to use Calypso Coral and the Lemon Lime Twist. So what I'm going to do is on the Calypso Coral, I'm going to bring in, let me see, I'm going to bring in some little blocks here. And what I'm going to do is so you have a couple of options. I think that's what I had mentioned before on how you can do this. So when your ink pad is closed, what you can do is you can squeeze the pad into the lid. And you do with these cases, you do have to like squeeze really hard to get the ink into that lid. Um, into this lid right here. Now, if you don't have the hand strength to do that, another option is you can use the re-inker and add like a drop or two in here and then just add the water to it. What I do like to do is that I do like to, after I'm done, I will wipe the inside out. Or another option is you can get an acrylic block like this and you can just add some ink onto the block like so, and you can do it that way. Now I have a cup of water here. Let me kind of move this out of the way. And this is actually one of the old water painters that we had. I know that somewhere around this studio, I do have the current water painters that Stampin' Up sells. I know I also have more than one set of them. I just don't know where I have them right now. That's sad. I don't know where anything is. So I'm going to take some water and I'm going to add it on my block. Just kind of mix that up a little bit. And then I'm going to come in and you can see there's just a faint line with the flower. I'm going to paint the flower with the Calypso coral. I want to make mention, if you're watching, and usually it's like I would say, like as you're coming in and you're watching, so um, as you come in, say hi, let me know where you're visiting from, where you're watching from. And of course, you're watching this kind of like on a replay, so even if you're watching it at a later time, again, just say hi, let me know where you're visiting from. It's always interesting to see, how far, your video is going, where people are watching from. So it's nice you can see some of the lines from that ink. And then we have a little bit of this flower right over here. So if watercoloring is something that you've always wanted to try and you've been very, like, some people are kind of scared and leery about watercoloring because they just feel like, well, I'm just not good at it. Something like this no line watercoloring would be a great way to start. You're using a light color ink to stamp the image, and then you're just going to go over it with your watercolor. So with this, we're actually using the ink from the ink pads. So those flowers are done, and I'm going to take this block and I'm going to put it out of my way because that's the only color that we're going to be um, using. So technically I can close this up and I'll put that aside. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the lemon lime twist. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a block that's a little bit bigger because there's more of this lemon lime twist that I'm going to be using. I'm going to use it on these two leaf images and then the leaves on my flower image. I'm going to close this up too. And then we're going to clean this. Now, like I said, I have this paper towel, so I'm using this to kind of clean my brush. Now, you can put water in here if you want, but I didn't because I feel like I would have more control of the water by just dipping it into my cup. And I got it on my mat, on my grid paper. Okay, so I'm going to add some water to this. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to then do the leaves. Now I'm not going to paint over the stems, I'm just doing the leaves. And I'm not using a whole lot of water either. And if it looks a little bit lighter and you want it a little bit more darker, then you can just go right over it with some more of the ink. Now, with doing this, I do suggest that if you're going to do any kind of watercoloring, that you use watercolor paper to do this, and not use like our thick basic white or our regular basic white. It's not going to handle the water on it. What'll happen, the cardstock will start to pill. So whenever you do watercoloring, you always want to use watercolor paper. So there's our first image. I'm going to set that aside so that fully dries. And I'm going to bring in now these two leaf images. And I'm going to watercolor these leaves. And hopefully I'll have enough ink on this block to complete both of these panels. So I know that the time that you're watching this, I don't know what the weather, what it's actually going to be doing at this point in time. I know that the forecast was saying that, did we have, I want to say, was it a 60% chance of thunderstorms today? But I mean, weather here, it changes all the time, so I didn't exactly look before I came online, before I started this video, so I don't know what the weather's really gonna be like. I'm just kind of hoping that as I'm traveling out to this place that the storms aren't too bad. I mean, I'm all for a good storm, but driving through it is like, it's something a lot different. And I mean, I can do it. I've done it numerous times, but I'd just rather not. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. Now I can end up, go back and I'll add probably a little bit more color to that. I just want to make sure that I have enough on this block to at least get this other one done. So they're saying that they're calling for rain on Friday, but for the rest of the weekend, it's not supposed to. And, this morning when I saw the forecast, it was saying that it was going to be like 82 degrees both on, was it Saturday and Sunday? So I'm kind of hoping that it'll be more on the cooler side because I really, to be honest with you, some people, they love the heat of the summer. I am not one of them. Not one of them. And I'll tell you what doesn't mix very well with it is when you have hot flashes. Yeah, wonderful. So we'll see how the weather cooperates for this weekend. So the check-in for the place that we're going to be at is like at 4 o'clock. And so we have, I think we do dinner tomorrow on, well, tonight. I got to remember that you're watching this and it's Friday. And then we have a session at 7, and then we have like for Saturday we have breakfast, we have session, we have lunch. I believe we're also, well, I not believe, but I know we're doing some kind of like art type project. And then, like the last time we had a little bit of downtime, where we can just, kind of chill out. We can walk the property and, we can spend some alone time. And then I believe then come Sunday, we do breakfast and then we're done like about noontime and then leave there and travel home. So I'm just going over this one again now to just make it add a little bit more of the green to it. So when I do this, I'm not using a whole lot of water, so these images will dry fairly quickly for me. Okay, starting to feel a little warm in here. I have a fan right here, but I know if I turn that on, it's going to make a lot of noise in the video, so just just try and get through it. And hopefully I don't sweat too much that I'm like, dripping on my cardstock. That would not be good. Okay, so I've added a little bit more onto those leaves. And so we are done watercoloring that. Now, my last card, there's some watercoloring on that as well. So let me take these and let me move these someplace to where I don't get cardstock on them and they don't make a mess anywhere. We don't want that. Okay. So I put this aside and then, so while that's drying, I'm going to bring this piece in. This little teeny tiny strip right here, I'm going to bring in my Calypso Coral and this little crosshatch design stamp. I'm going to stamp over on this piece like so. I can add just a tiny bit on that end. Okay, and I'll set that aside. And then on my piece of Summer Splash, I'm going to bring in my Memento Tuxedo Black ink and this Dear Friend. And I'll ink that up and bring this down a little bit so I can. And again, I'm looking at the bottom of the block. Okay. And then we bring this in. And I'll clean these really quick. This is all the stamping that we're doing on this card. Okay, so then on this other piece of the basic white, I am going to flag that. So I'm going to bring in my snips, and on this end, I'm going to come up in the middle of this piece. I'm going to snip up, and then from this corner to the middle, I'm going to snip again. So like so, just like that. And then on this piece, this crosshatch piece that I stamped, um, I'm just looking at my instructions. Yeah, so on these, I'm actually going to angle the ends of this. So, okay, and then I'm going to bring in my liquid glue for this because it's very thin. Now I want the flag end facing to the left. And I'm going to just add a little bit of glue on this. And then I'm going to add this piece right over the top. And I'm going to do it kind of like at an angle. I'm not doing it straight and even. Okay. And so we're done with this glue. And then I am going to bring in my card base. And these are dry enough now. I mean, again, I didn't, sop it up with a lot of water, so they dry fairly quick. And I'm going to add some adhesive on these. Kind of hoping my adhesive will hold up until I got all the cards done. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my card base. And one of these leaves, now these aren't being put on straight, so they're kind of going at a bit of an angle. So you don't have to stress about, getting them all straight. I'm going to take this leaf one and place that like over here. And again, not worrying about it being straight. And then I'm going to take the one with the flower and I'm going to add that in the middle. And then I'll press that down. And then, let's see. Okay. Then on the back of this, I'm going to bring in my dimensionals. Add some on here, like so. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to add this right over here, like so. And then I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive right in the middle of this. I don't need much at all. And actually on my greeting, since I got the dimensionals right here, I'm going to add one on either end like so. I can remove these paper backings. Set that aside. And then this piece of crumb cake twine, I'm going to create a bow. I'm going to attempt to do a bow. I mean, you know how it all works, right? When you got the camera rolling, and it comes to, doing things like doing bows and all that. I mean, usually you can do it easy peasy, no problem. But then when the camera's rolling, you can't seem to get your fingers to work and you can't get the bow to go looking good. And I don't know why it's being fussy with the other end of it. Yeah, I told you. It's like camera's rolling and you can't seem to get it tied. And usually when it comes to like linen thread and twine, they're usually not too bad on tying a bow. Of course, the loop is all twisting up. Okay, so I'm going to stick this down into that adhesive like so. And let's see if I can get this loop to kind of open up a little bit. Okay, and then my greeting, I'm going to take that and stick that right over the top like so. And then I'll take my snips and I'll snip some of that twine off of there. Now, this is kind of like where they left it, but again, with this card, we can add some bling to it. So let me bring in my take your pick tool. And for this one, I think I'm going to use some of these pink ones. So I'll add one down there and then I'll take two smaller ones and we'll put one there and then we'll take another one and we'll place that right over here. Okay, so that is our second card, and this was the original. So pretty much the same. I just got some more of that flower right there on that piece. So there is our second card. I want to make sure that I put the cards that we're creating today or tonight actually and keep them kind of together. Okay, so now on to our last card. Now for this one, we're doing some more watercoloring on this one. So I am going to actually do that part first before I do anything else. So then that way we give this an opportunity to dry. So I'm starting off with a piece of pecan pie for my card base. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. So I'll fold that and I will burnish that and I will set that aside. And then I have a piece of that Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This measures 5 by 3.5. And then I have a piece of basic white. This measures 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. And then I have this little piece of lemon lime twist, and this measures 2.5 by 5/8. So I'm going to start off, like I said, I'm going to do the watercoloring part first. So then this way, this has time to dry. So for this one, I'm going to bring in my pecan pie ink and I'm going to do, let's see, which block do I want to use? I'll use this one. And I'm going to add some of that pecan pie ink onto my block. And while I got that open, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the stamp that says thanks. And that's this one right here. And let me bring in a block. And just like the other one, I don't have the sticker on it, so I'm just going to kind of line this up with the base. And I'm going to ink that up in the pecan pie. And on this lemon lime twist, I'm going to stamp this out here. Okay. And we'll close this up. And then we'll set that aside. And I'm going to bring in my watercolor paper and my water. And what I'm going to do with this one, let me make sure that this is clean. There is some green still on there. Okay, so what I'm going to do to start off, I'm going to take some water and I'm going to brush it on the sides of this. Now I'm not watercoloring this whole thing. By adding a little bit more water to this, it will help with the flow of the color that I add onto it. So this piece will take a little bit longer to dry since I am adding water. Now I'm just going on the outer perimeter of this piece. I'm going to add some water to my block, and then I'm just going to brush some on the ends here because I'm not doing the middle part because you're not going to see that. It will be covered up. So make sure that I get the ends here. And I get the edges. I'll add a little bit more up here. At first, when I looked at the instructions, I got a little bit confused on it. I'm like, wait a minute, what color did they use for that? Because I'm not getting it. What did they do with the watercolor paper? And then realized, oh yeah, you're actually watercoloring with the pecan pie on there. Okay, so that is all the watercoloring that we're going to do. So I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to set this aside for a moment and we're going to let that dry now. That probably won't be fully dry by the time I'm ready to go and adhere it. So I can bring in my heat tool and I can take care of that. Okay, so then I'm going to bring in this piece of basic white. And since that piece of scrap paper is now wet, I'm going to bring in another piece. Now on this one, let me put this aside. So on this one, we're going to use this big leaf here, and we're using, what color are we using? We are using the shy shamrock. Say that a few times fast. And we're also going to use the other new color, Petunia Pop. So for the Petunia Pop, we're going to be stamping our butterfly in this stamp set with that ink. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the Shy Shamrock, and when we go to stamp this, yeah, hold on. Okay, so on this, I mean, when you look at the picture, it looks like it was stamped off, but it's actually not. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to add part of the leaf there. I just think that leaf looks so pretty. Just the detail with that, I really like that. And then I'm going to add one right down here. And we'll add one here. This still is a bit inky. And then we're going to add one here. And then I think we can add partial one right over here on this side, like so. Okay, and then we're done with this one. And then we're going to bring in this petunia pop. And we have our butterfly. And we'll ink this up. And we will stamp our butterfly. Let's see. Can't really put it over there because we got leaves over there. So we will place our butterfly right here in the middle. And that ink pad is still very, very inky. You can tell just by how really dark that is. This ink pad is still very inky, and I did the whole thing with pressing some of that ink in. So okay, so we have stamped this. We have our greeting, and the greeting on the right side, I'm just going to cut an angle on it. And then on the card base, this crosshatch image here, I'm going to bring in my pecan pie ink, and I'm going to stamp these like 2 times, but more like in the corner. I'm not going to go all the way around the outer edges of my card base. See, 2 here and 1 there. Okay, so that's all our stamping, and we'll move this out of the way. And then I am going to add some dimensionals to the back of this greeting. And you can see I had something stamped on it. I just used the other side of it. I'm going to add those on there. And then, let's see. Where's that watercolor piece that I just did? There it is. Okay, so this is a little bit damp still, and I want it to be dry before I go and use it. So I have my heat tool right here, and hopefully it's not going to get like really, really loud on the video. You do want this to be dry before you adhere it down to your card base. I'm actually going to turn this on high. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too loud. Okay, so now I'm going to take this piece, we're going to add dimensionals on the back of this one. I'm actually going to add some closer to the edge on this piece since this watercolor paper is a bit warped. And we'll remove these backings. One more, okay. And then we'll take the backings off of these two while we're at it. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my card base. Now with this piece, I'm not going to put it on here straight. I'm actually going to put it on at an angle like so. Okay, and then I am going to take this piece here. I'm going to add some adhesive to that. Oh, I didn't want you to go on the paper. Okay, add some here. Yay, we had enough to get us through our projects. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to go over like this. So kind of like at an angle. So you can see we didn't need to paint watercolor that whole complete piece. We just needed the edges of it. So only that part was poking out anyway. Okay, now for my greeting, I'm going to add that right here, like so. And then I'm going to bring in those, what are these called again? The 24, 26 in color shimmer gems. And I'm going to use um, the petunia pop color. And I'm going to add a large one there. And we'll put a smaller one right there. And then one more down here. Okay, so that is all our project. So let me kind of move all this stuff that I have up here because everything just kind of is taken over. Move everything out of the way. So that way we don't stab ourselves with anything or get ink all over ourselves. Okay, so let me bring in the original project that I had done. So here's this one, and you can see I didn't stamp as much of the greenery part, and the butterfly is more off to the upper right hand side rather than me put in the center. And it's only because I kind of ran out of space. But so there's our third card, and let me bring in the other two that I did. So how did we do on time on this? Like an hour and a half? Is that what I'm seeing? Okay, so here is our first card that we made. This one's pretty simple. And then we stepped it up a little bit more by doing some watercoloring on this one. And then there's our third one where we did some more watercoloring on it. So again, these projects were projects that we did when we were at on stage. It was so the brochure that we got, there were three, like I said, there were three different stamp bundles that we could get. One of them was the citrus blooms bundle, and One of the things too, I do want to make mention, there is a page towards the front of that annual catalog that actually has like these little card sketches in it. So this is one way too that you can get some inspiration on creating cards. And I will tell you that, some of these sketches, when you look at them, they don't have measurements, but like out on Pinterest, you'll find that if you look up card sketches, there are some that do have dimensions on the pieces of it. And I will tell you that when it comes to creating cards, especially when there's like new product, I mean, I go to Pinterest and I'll look up, that particular stamp set or whatever to kind of just see what people have done with it. But I don't want to copy and do exactly what they've done. So a lot of times I'll just take a glance at it. But I found that I can come up with a design so much quicker just by utilizing one of the card sketches and then putting it all together. So that's just a little tip that I have found that works for me. But this is one of the things that Stampin' Up! Also did in the annual catalog. They do have one page where there are multiple little card sketches that you can follow to give you some inspiration on your card making. So this one was the Citrus Blooms bundle, the 3 cards that they had created. This was actually this bundle, if I didn't get this one, this would have been the other one that I would have gotten. And then there's Country Flowers. This was the other bundle. This bundle actually is part of it's part of a big mega suite of products. There's two stamp and die bundles. There's I think there's like two different types of DSP in it, designer series paper, and I think there's like some embellishments. There's a lot to that suite that I will be doing something with that as well. So there's the third card, and then here's the spotlight on nature cards that I kind of sort of didn't do when I was at the event. So I didn't utilize the dies to this, but those dies will definitely get used in a future Friday Night Live. So if you like these cards that we had made tonight, and you would like the free card kits to them, which you would get like all of the pre-cut cardstock pieces and the twine. Now, I you will need the stamp set for this because I cannot stamp the images for you. And but other than that, the embellishments, the cardstock, the twine, that I will, and the watercolor paper, I will provide that to you. Um, it's a minimum $35 order in my online store. Um, place the order by midnight on next Wednesday, May 8th, and I will send you all the components for these cards. Um, I will send them out to you. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It does help me in not only growing the channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. So everyone, I hope you have a great weekend. If you're watching this with as it's kind of live, I hope you have a great weekend. If you are watching on the replay, thank you for watching. I hope that your weekend was good as well. And wherever you are, I hope that the weather is behaving itself. I know there's been some areas that, like Nebraska and Oklahoma and all that, that have been dealing with, and Iowa, yeah, Iowa too, that's been dealing with some really nasty weather. So I pray that you all stay safe. And everyone, I will see you on next Friday, and that one should be alive. I don't know when the next one's going to be where I'm going to pre-record, so I should be live next Friday. As far as what am I going to use, I'm not 100% sure quite yet. I haven't really thought about that Yeah, because 'cause I've been, doing between Paper Pumpkin and Throwback Thursday and Christmas and this, I really haven't given it much thought, but, yeah, next Friday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I should be here live with you. So again, everybody, thank you for joining me, and I have, a really blessed one. Bye-bye.